makes us a legitimate player. Yeah. That's great.
Welcome to Real Talk. It's a round table with Coach William Forcum, Coach David Smith, and Coach Erika Dutcher. Glad to have you here, and we've got a great episode in store for you.
That's right. We've got some special things we're going to be talking about, special gifts that we're going to be giving away. This is going to be awesome. It's going to be real. And we've got a special guest. Why don't you introduce her to us, Will?
Yeah, Coach Erika Dutcher. She's a fellow RPC, a Ramsey preferred coach. Erika, you and I have been having conversation after conversation this week, and it's just lovely knowing you. It is. I know that you are a powerful coach, a whole lot to offer, and I'm happy to see you here. Now, you're going to be talking all things consistency. Is that right?
Consistency, yes. Not a very glamorous word, but a very necessary and a very important word.
Right, yeah. It's not very glamorous. I like that. It's not. Not many of us love to be consistent. I don't know. Maybe. What do you think, David?
Well, we're always consistent one way or the other. One thing about human nature, we love doing the same thing always. We hate change. So a lot of people are consistent whether they realize it or not, and they need a coach to get better.
Maybe they're consistent in not some of the best ways. Mm-hmm. Ooh, okay.
Well, see, you don't hope that you hear compliments like, "Hey, Dave, you're so consistent." You want to hear that you're amazing, that you're fabulous. Will, you want to hear that you did something awesome, right?
Yeah.
But being consistent is awesome in its own way. It's like that little hidden key.
Yeah. Consistent in the right ways.
That's right.
Right, yeah. So, oh, wow. What's the first thing that comes to your mind, David, whenever you hear the word consistency?
I see it of two ways. One, I hear the definition of insanity. I also hear strength and power. The reason I say that is the definition of insanity is doing the same thing you did yesterday and expecting a change. However, a strong tower, built strong, unwavering, is also consistent. So you want to be built strong in the right way where you're not tossed to and fro in the sea like by every wind and doctrine.
Absolutely. See, everybody, society, let's put it this way. They teach us to chase the big moment, the big turnaround, the big, hit my thing that's going to change everything. But it's not one big act that changes everything. It's the small, repetitive things that we do every single day. You guys want to hear a story?
Yeah.
Oh, we love it.
Okay. So my story, I used to be called the Queen of Last Minute. And I worked in nonprofit for over a decade, and so it's very much project management based. There's always another event or another board meeting or another thing to do. And I always scrambled and finished everything at the last second. It was always on time, but it was just barely on time. And I heard some feedback that volunteers had nicknamed me the Queen of Last Minute. And it hurt. I'm not going to lie, it hurt. But it wasn't because I lacked ability to do the things or get the things done. It was because I lacked consistency in my planning and my execution. And it sort of over time came to me that small, intentional habits prevent that last minute chaos. So change is slow, small, and daily. I had a boss that said that to me, and he actually had it posted on his wall. Change is small, slow, and daily. Slow, small, and daily, doesn't matter how you say it, but it's the truth. And when I learned that and just kind of adopted that as one of my mantras, my productivity and my peace of mind just skyrocketed.
Yeah, I like that. What's one thing specifically, Erika, that you adopted and that you started to practice that led to better execution, better planning, better consistency?
The very first one and the biggest one probably is writing everything down and keeping it in my calendar. So I keep an electronic calendar because I'm being the queen of last minute. You can imagine I probably also had a lot of piles of paper hanging around, and writing something down, I was just going to lose it. So I put everything into a single consolidated calendar. It didn't matter if it was personal, if it was work, if it was volunteer, if it was church, whatever it was all in the same calendar so that I didn't have to go multiple places to find it. And that created mental space, because once something was in my calendar, I could forget about it, because then I would sit down on Sunday night and I would look at my calendar for the upcoming week and start to prepare for those things that were coming up in the week. I could look the night before and say, what have I got on my schedule tomorrow that I've got to mentally prepare for or actually prepare for? And it became such a habit for me that one time I forgot to put a meeting on my calendar, and I got a phone call from someone saying, hey, are you coming to the meeting? And I said, what meeting? What are you talking about? And unfortunately, the meeting was 45 minutes drive away, so we had to cancel that one. But I would tell people, hey, make sure that I put this in the calendar, or if I'm talking to them on the phone, maybe while I'm driving, of course, hands-free and safe. But, hey, can you send me a text or send me an email that we're going to meet on this date so that I can put it in my calendar, because I'll warn people ahead of time. If it's not in my calendar, I'm not going to show up. So that created space. Some smaller things are like, it's going to sound silly, but I order the same thing if I eat out. One of our former presidents, Barack Obama, he always wore the same suit. He had an entire closet full of the same suit. And the reason was because he didn't want to have to pick out his clothes. It was one less decision he had to make that day. So the less decisions I had to make, the less thinking and energy I had to put into what am I going to get done today? What do I have on my plate today? That freed up so much mental space to be productive.
Yeah.
Now, I got a funny story about that.
Come on.
I don't know. I'm just going to say it. There's a place called Jimmy John's.
Oh, yeah.
Famous sub place. And every single time I went there, I got the same thing. Matter of fact, if you asked me as soon as I was walking in the door, I can tell you without a beat what I would get. It was the Italian nightclub, extra lettuce, no tomatoes. And one of the times...
Tomatoes?
No tomatoes.
Come on.
One of the times...
No Billy Club for you?
Just as I walked in the door, the lady asked what I wanted. I told her without missing a beat. Without missing a beat, she said, what do you have against tomatoes? So I told her this. There's a mama tomato, a baby tomato, a pop tomato. All walking along. The baby tomato says flag behind, so pop tomato catch up. But that was a place that I always got the same thing. The extra lettuce was my way of eating healthy, even though iceberg lettuce has no nutrition in it. It's just water. But that was my way of eating healthy. So it was that story was brought to my memory when you said the same thing at the restaurant all the time, because I would do that every time I went in there.
Yep.
And I'll bet it created mental space and you didn't even realize it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that mental space is huge. To have freed up space, to be creative, to hear from, our source, it's important. It's so important. You were talking about calendars.
Mm-hmm.
About calendar. David remembers this. I was actually using Apple Calendar and Google Calendar simultaneously. Like I'll swap to one or the other. I was actually trying to sync them. Turns out you can't do that. Or you can, but it's like, I don't know, hard. I can't remember. It's been forever. But so anyway, I couldn't sync them. I was using both, getting double booked, didn't know when meetings were, and I was just like coming apart at the seams. It was so hard to try to juggle back and forth. And I felt like I had zero mental space, zero creativity room. Why? Well, it's because I didn't know whether I was coming or going half the time. So it really helped whenever I just ditched Apple. They're not paying me to say this. Google's not paying me to say this. But yeah, I ditched it, and I moved everything to Google Calendar, integrated everything, so I don't have to really plan to do anything. Some things, but barely anything. Everything's integrated. Somebody scheduled with me, goes right to Google Calendar, and it's just so much creativity room, so much. Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing that up.
And the nice thing, speaking that you said multiple calendars, if you're using Google, you can have multiple calendars all in the same one. You know, we do that all the time.
Right.
We have like 3 calendars in the same calendar.
Exactly. It's all Google Calendar, but it's different calendars.
Yep. That way I know what it is.
Right. Right. Organization.
Yeah. There's another mind clearing thing that I do now, and I've been doing it for 9 months. I started doing it, and I'm like, okay, this is good. Let's just keep doing this. And then 1 week went by, and it was like, this is really great. And a month went by, and I'm like, okay. And that was when it started to get difficult to make sure that I stayed consistent, was at that 1 month point. But now I can say I've done it for 9 months, and it's something simple. When I'm finished with working for the day, I clear off the desk, everything. The desk looks like nobody works there. It's completely clear of paper, completely clear of files, completely clear of anything, just the stuff that's supposed to be there, computers, things like that. And when I sit down in the morning, it's a clear desk. There's no chaos. I get to choose what I'm going to work on that day, or I get to look at my calendar and pull out only the things I'm going to work on that day. As opposed to what I used to do, I'd leave a giant mess and lots of piles. I walk in and instant chaos. And what you see, what you put into your visual stimulus, your mind adopts that. So if you see chaos every morning, you're in chaos. And it starts your day off wrong. So the little thing, just clearing off the desk, and it only took 5 minutes at the end of every day. 5 minutes. 5 minutes out of your whole life, out of your whole day. Clear off. And then this little tiny thing kept me from being overwhelmed, and it set me up for being intentional about my work.
Yeah.
And that 1 month point, that was when I had to get some fresh motivation. You guys ever struggle with motivation?
Oh yeah, for sure. You know, I have a tactic that I actually learned from this guy. Whenever I don't have the motivation to get up and go do what I know that I need to do, I do have the motivation to go to the bathroom and yell at myself in the mirror. And I find that gives me a lot of motivation. So thank you, David, for teaching me that little trick. Yeah, I mean, I can yell at myself.
Well, that's
gives
a
me
trick
motivation.
to help you with boldness, to give you that strength.
I use it
that
for motivation.
Strong power.
Yeah.
Well, see, Zig Ziglar, pretty famous guy. Hopefully some of you know him. He said people often say that motivation doesn't last. Well, neither does bathing. That's why we recommend it daily. That's one of my favorite Zig quotes, right? But the motivation isn't reliable, so we have to focus on systems that are going to get us there. Like, for instance, every 2 weeks, I meet with my coaches. Coaches have coaches. And I meet with my coaches because my motivation needs to be refreshed. Every morning, I try to read something from my Bible or find a Bible verse or just absorb some of God because I need that fresh slice of motivation from Jesus every day. It's
Come on.
motivation sometimes can't be born from our own minds because we just want to beat ourselves up. Sometimes we hear the negative things. You know, we do 100 things right at work and the boss focuses on the one thing we did wrong. It's easy to get down on yourself.
It is.
And having you know, people around you that help motivate you is awesome. Having a coach on your side that motivates you is awesome. Having a consistent plan for reading things or affirming things, like, you know, you go look in the mirror and you get bold. That's something that you know that's small that you can do whenever you need to get a little more bold.
Yeah. And, you know, and I don't just yell at myself. I'll tell myself, good job. Great job, Will. You're doing an excellent job. You keep up the good work, and, hey, watch out. You know, watch out.
I love how you said that. I love that you talked about yourself in the third person. When we talk to ourselves in the third person, that is so powerful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
like, Eric, you know you can do this. You know you can keep your desk cleaned off.
Mm-hmm. And I love how you said every coach has a coach. You need that motivation. One thing I remember, a nice little story. This one coach was pushing this guy to be very successful and be very good. is that, this guy was being encouraged all the time, and then was coming to a race, and he had to do this, and he couldn't find his coach nowhere. His coach wasn't around, and he's like, "Well, what good is he if he's not going to be here?" Then he decided, "Well, I'm just going to go ahead and anyhow." But in the long race that he was going to be going, about midway, he was about ready to give up. Nobody actually cares. My coach isn't here, all that kind of stuff. Then all of a sudden he comes around the corner, and his coach is sitting on the car, waving him on. "Yeah, good job, keep going." At the right moment, his coach was there, edging him on. That gave him enough to finish the race off. So he wasn't at the beginning, but he was at the place he needed to be at the time, and it was perfect.
That reminds me of the quote by Muhammad Ali, "I don't count my reps. I count when it starts to hurt." Whew, that's powerful. We've got Maxwell in the comments that turn me up, Will. I'm about to get it, Maxwell. You got this. I don't know who you are. I don't know what you're doing, but you asked me to turn you up, so I'm doing it. Get it.
Nice. And one of our favorite coaches, one thing they always say is, just do the darn thing.
Ooh, yes, Miss Mary Bibb.
That's the preparing to prepare, and you get, paralysis by analysis, I believe they call it.
Right.
You just need to start. You just need to go, even if it's something tiny. Like, I have a group that I'm building up that is for building habits. We have a different theme every month. So we focused on connection during the month of February because Valentine's Day. That was sweet. This month we're focusing on decluttering, but not just your space. It's decluttering your life. We spent like the month of December just reflecting on all of our habits from the previous year. So every 30 days there's a new theme. One of the things we talked about this month was, if your desk is plaguing you, just clean off a corner. If the closet plagues you, just pick a little section and clean it out. The dresser's overflowing, pick one drawer. You just have to start somewhere. And sometimes that motivation will get you there too. And the success isn't always visible at first. You clean out one drawer and the other five are still overflowing. If somebody else will come in there and say, "Wow, your dresser's terrible." They say, "Yeah, well, you should have seen it yesterday."
Right.
But they work on it a little piece at a time, and a little piece at a time, and a little piece at a time, consistently. That work that you show up today that you do today is gonna show up maybe 2 weeks from now, maybe 2 months from now, maybe 2 years from now. I'm currently also working with a fellow coach, and we have a mastermind group for coaches and business owners. And our whole theme for the year is building the business you will love in 5 years. So we're taking a look, everything we look at is through the lens of, is this going to get me to what I dream about 5 years from now?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. And one of the key things I really like that you kind of brought up, as we're focusing and as we're keeping our target mind, we cleaned that one drawer out, but we just moved everything to another drawer, but our one drawer is good. But eventually we're going to hit all those drawers.
Right.
If we do just one at a time. And we can't move it from one drawer to another, but then when we get to that, move it back, we can't do that.
Yeah.
So we're eventually moving it to where it needs to go.
Yeah.
And some of us do that. We move things from place to place to place. We handle it 20 times until it finally gets its proper place.
Yeah. That reminds me of a story. I'm going to get kind of open right now because I feel like that it's just going to encourage all of us to get that way. And Maxwell, sorry for misunderstanding you. I absolutely do that in the mirror. I'm like, "Get it, Will, get it. You got this, get it." And it helps. It absolutely helps. I just ran for the first time this year 3 miles 4 days ago. It was 5 days ago, something like that. And then 2 days after that, I doubled it, 6 miles. And then this weekend, I'm going to double that, Lord willing, and weather permitting, because I don't run in the rain. But, no, I absolutely do it. And I don't just do it in the mirror. I'll do it while I'm running. If I want to quit and give up, I'll get it, Will, and I'll boost myself up. We have to do that. But anyway, you can do it too. So I'm going through a separation in marriage, and very hard. You know, we've got 4 beautiful children, and separated from a beautiful lady that, you know, I just dropped the ball and I didn't make it work. It's my fault. And you talked about, David, you were talking about going through those drawers. Dude, I went through a state of depression where I did not clean out any drawers. I didn't vacuum for like 6 months. Like, it was bad, okay? So I'm like, one night after talking with you, after talking with some other friends, family, that hadn't, you know, just said hasta luego, I found the motivation to clean that one drawer. And before you know it, Erika, Maxwell, David, I kept going. I didn't want to stop. Like, I was sacrificing sleep. I was cleaning all the drawers, the kitchen, the cupboards, like vacuuming the whole house. I was doing it, and I was like, okay, I have to go to sleep. So I got 4 hours of sleep that night, got up, did my busy day, came home and picked up right where I left off and just kept going. I kept going. And I got somewhat addicted to I don't want to say addicted, but I'm just going to use that word, somewhat addicted to the productivity that was coming with that. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's momentum you're talking about there, brother.
Right. Yeah.
And consistency is the key to momentum.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because you started out with just doing a little bit. You're like, I'll do a little bit more. Then I'll do a little bit more. Wow, I'll do a little bit more. And it's kind of like that. I know I coach a lot of folks on personal finance, and like the momentum that they get when they pay off a debt. And I cheer them until the cows come home. I love getting all excited and telling them how awesome they are. And, you know, if we're on a Zoom meeting, I'll use like the little horns of plenty that go up for celebrations and stuff. And they're just like, yeah, we paid it off. It was really hard, but you're awesome. So I love inspiring people like that. And that's what a coach can help do. I mean, my coaches, you know, David, you were talking about that coach that was in there right when that runner needed the coach. The coach was there. And the coach also knew that runner well enough to know just about the point that he was going to get tired and demotivated. So giving him that, you know, I think it was also a challenge to that runner that the coach wasn't there in the beginning.
Amen.
Yep. And, you know, I think it's key, Maxwell. The hardest part is getting going, the starting up. But that's why I like how, Erika, you said when you start out, you make sure your slate is clean. Mm-hmm. And then you look at your calendar. Well, actually, I'm just going to speak for you. I'm sure you like this. This is how I do things. In the morning when I start, the first place that I go is to my Father, which clears my whole day for me. Just when you give it to God first, everything goes smooth, and you just can get everything done. More gets done. But I love how you said that as you start out, no clutter, you look at your calendar and you start bringing in things that you want to partake. So you look at your calendar. Well, I got to meet with William. No, I don't want to do that. I got to meet with Erika. Okay, well, I'll put that on his plate. I'm just kidding. I can mess with William all the time because we do that. But, you know, we can choose what we want to bring out of our calendar and put it on the plate. So I love that. And when we're choosing, now it's our choice. We don't have to do anything. I used to have a little game that I played with a kid. Well, I don't want to do this. Well, don't. But I have to. Well, do. But I don't want to do it. Then don't. You know, we have the choice to do what we want. Now, because of our choices, we will have consequences. And that's a lot. We will have consequences. But, you know, that's the biggest key right there. We can choose, and then as we step into it, we reap the harvest as we have not given up.
Oh, man, well said, David. Well said, David. Yeah, momentum is huge in relationships, business, coaching, personal lives, everywhere, every aspect. Momentum is huge. People want to feel like they're around winners.
Yeah.
But, you know, David, there's something else that you can choose when you have that clean slate and, you talked about, and you're right, I do. I pull things in from my calendar and I say, hey, I got to meet with Will today. Awesome. Sorry. I'm excited because Will's such a great guy, and you are very powerful as well, Dave. So, you two together make a fantastic combination. I have to tell you that. Yeah. But I can also choose to say no. I can choose to say no to things that aren't going to serve me well. I can choose to say no to people that are going to be toxic for me. I can choose, well, this is a hard one. Sometimes I have to choose to say no to really good ideas or really good projects that come about. Because when I had all that clutter and chaos on my desk and on my project management plate, adding one more project, I really didn't know how overwhelmed I already was. So adding one more project didn't seem like it was a big deal. I'm like, yeah, sure, I can handle that. But if your slate is clear and then you pull in the things that you need to work on, you can clearly see what your limit is. And saying no, sometimes even to good ideas, will help you to focus on the things that are right in front of you. Have you guys ever read Rhinoceros Success? Rhinoceros Success is a great book. It talks about how to be a rhinoceros and succeed. But the guy actually has a lot of funny things. Look it up because I can't remember who the author is right now. Please, Will. He talks about focusing on only one or two things and charging at them like a rhinoceros. Everything else, put it to the side. Say no to everything and just focus on your one or two things. And lots of research has said that, if you're trying to focus on 10 goals at once, you're never going to get any of them done. And that's the concept of this book. So I'm constantly, when I'm working with people, I am telling them to charge like a rhinoceros at just a couple of things. And so one of my clients actually found a rhinoceros little tchotchke and put it on her desk to remind her that she needed to be charging only at her goals and she needed to say no to things even if they were good ideas.
I love that.
I'm not finding Rhinoceros Success on Google.
It is one of Dave Ramsey's recommended reads, actually.
Okay, wait, maybe you can find it. Maybe I'm not spelling it right. But it's kind of like it goes along the same lines as James Clear's Atomic Habits. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it sounds like.
Oh, I love James Clear. If you're 1% better every day, you'll be 37 times better at the end of the year.
Yeah.
Scott Alexander wrote Rhinoceros Success, and so we have now learned that Will does not know how to spell rhinoceros.
You got it. Shoot me that text. I know.
And we'll definitely put that book reference in the comments, so you guys will be able to see that.
I spelled it Rhinosecaurus. Woo, okay.
Now, the one thing I do have to say is just by the analogies. I love the rhinoceros because the thing is if you look at the animal, they're a big, massive animal that is hard to knock over.
Yeah.
And when they're coming at you, they just buck down and they can push you out of the way very easily,
right.
But you can't get them out of the way too easily.
Ooh, I like that.
So I love the analogy of using that animal because, hey, that's definitely going to be a good book to read.
Yeah. I look forward to reading that. And as I read that, I'm going to reach out to you. We're going to talk about that. It's going to be powerful. This question that just came in from Maxwell. Okay, we're going to wait on that. It's a powerful question. We're waiting for a reason. Rhinoceros Success. Who's it by?
Scott Alexander.
Scott Alexander. I'm going to write that down.
Yeah, in the book he actually says, hey, write down on a 3x5 card this little mantra and repeat it to yourself every day for 30 days. So, I mean, even he's looking at consistency for doing the things that make you successful. I mean, success is a lot of people's dream, and, those small everyday things. Oh, I'll explain it to you the way I was talking to a pastor friend of mine a couple of days ago about the fact that I was excited for being with you guys tonight. And I told him that, I told him that consistency wasn't a very glamorous word, and that, you can do mediocre things and still be wildly successful. And he looked right at me and said, but nothing's mediocre to God.
Ooh.
And I stopped him in my tracks.
Wow, who are we? Who do we think we are? That is powerful. That is powerful.
That is powerful. I love that. Well, so here's what I'm going to mention to everybody. The first half hour we were talking, we got to really dive in. Erika really shared a lot about herself. We got to understand her a lot more, and you got to actually see real depth in conversation as we were talking. This next half hour, we like to open it up to questions, and we like the viewers to be able to ask questions that we will be bringing to in. Now, Maxwell asked a very good question.
He did.
So I'm going to comment on it, but first, let's hear what Erika has to say. Why don't you ask Erika what the question is?
Yeah, so Erika, this is the question. You ready for it?
Pressure's on.
Pressure's on, okay. Here you go. I know you're ready for it. How do you all manage the relationship between intensity versus consistency?
Intensity versus consistency. I think they go hand in hand, actually, because when you think about the rhinoceros analogy, the rhinoceros continues to charge forward on a daily basis, but a rhinoceros is also very intense. You can be intense about the goal. You can plan out an execution that's very aggressive in aggressively going for that goal and charging towards that goal. So I don't think there's any versus to it. I think they can go hand in hand.
That's a great perspective. I want to give mine. The rhinoceros is not always charging. But when he is, he is.
When he's not charging, he's a strong tower. When he's charging, he's intense. Now, the one thing
he's intense as well.
The one thing I wanted to mention about this, just like you, Eric, I do think they go hand in hand. I do think they both have different perspectives, different angles. So, like, you can be intense but not consistent, but you can still be consistent without being intense. But when you marry them together,
come on,
it just becomes more powerful.
Yeah.
So yes, you could be intense and be all over the place. The seas are doing that with the waves, right? Blowing you everywhere. They're intense, but it's not consistent. Right. You don't know where you're going to be going.
Right.
You can also be consistent. Look at the turtle. He's very consistent. He goes steady, but he's not intense. Slow and steady wins the race, right? So you can have them both individually. But when you pair them together, look out.
That's good. I like that.
Very good question by Maxwell.
Yeah.
If there's any other questions, please post them in the room, and we will definitely get to them.
Yep.
Yeah, this is interesting because you guys can see the questions and I can't.
Well, I'll be honest with you. We can't see it either, but we have a sound guy.
Telepathic.
Yeah, we have a sound guy that posts it for us so we can read it. That's
We're
why
making these up. Nobody's actually.
That's why so one time there was like a lot of like, oh, that's too much. I wasn't going to read it at that point. But having a sound guy really makes it easy. We cheat because he's our backbone. He keeps us making it look good.
Absolutely. Joe, you are a great backbone for us.
Yeah.
Thank you, brother.
And I'll bet he shows up consistently.
He does.
Yes. You know. So it's definitely very good when you have a good team of people to help you out. Because then you can actually do what you need to do. I don't know if you guys remember watching the podcast when we first started. I was the one sitting here going like this because I was having to do everything.
Yeah. And
then Will would ask a question when I'm just down here and I just come back and I don't know what's going on yet. And he keeps me dumbfounded. I'm like, where are we? So I'm thankful that there's a sound guy now that I don't have to concentrate but on this. So it definitely makes it more powerful.
Yeah, it does.
And I do also want to make another announcement. Just like we started last week, we are going to be giving out 2 prizes in this episode.
Oh boy!
So one, we're going to be giving a prize out for the best question, best comment,
which we may have just seen it.
Yeah, we might have just seen it,
but it's not over yet.
And we're also going to do another special person just for being here. So 2 people are going to get a special prize.
Yep.
And so we're actually going to be giving out a nice little gift.
A lot of value here. A lot of value here. Just for being here and asking great questions. Only Mac. Yeah, right. Oh,
So
right
far.
On, right on. Yeah. So
But it's
far.
going to entice for more people to pop their questions.
That's it.
Maxwell has been very active in the room, so we definitely appreciate it. I'm sure we have more people in the room than Maxwell. I can't see any right now. So it's definitely pretty cool. But yeah, we had two good winners last week, and they did reach out. It was passed to them. So, we're still waiting. They're still going to claim it, but they do have it in their hands. And, last week it was $100 off. This week we're going to give something away completely free.
Right. Okay. All right. I like it.
So,
and I'm learning this in real time, just like you guys. We didn't talk about it, so it's really cool. Really cool to hear that.
We did.
Last week we did, but not this week.
No, we talked about last week about both weeks.
I forgot. It's been a week.
Well, that's why we keep ourselves on toes, right?
Too much consistency got me tired.
Now, the one thing I'm going to bring out, I've got a strange question. I already think I know the answer, but I'm just going to draw it in. The reason me and Will works out great together, we harass each other, we have fun, but the reason we work out together is because we're completely different opposites. I'm very detailed-oriented. In the Ramsey network, I'm considered a nerd. I'm also very detailed-oriented. I got to have everything planned out, plotted. William, in the Ramsey network, is a free spirit. He is very run at the loose of his pants, just going out and getting it, right?
Yeah.
So we have a committee of group of people that were designing something. I don't really want to say too much about it, but most of those people are detailed-oriented. There's 4 people in that group. 3 of them are detailed-oriented, and Will's the only one that's not. In this call, I believe, if I'm correct, are you a free spirit, Erika?
I'm actually not. I'm actually a nerd, but I just love people.
Just the way you're doing things, I kind of thought you were free-spirited.
Are you guys familiar with the DISC system?
Yes, very well.
Okay, so I'm sort of a unicorn. I'm a very rare breed of DISC mixtures. I have a high I, which you probably could tell already, right? And Will's definitely a high I. He forgets why he came to the meeting.
Sure.
But my C, my aptitude for things being correct and exact is almost as high as the I.
Now, see, I'm a very high D, and second is a C. So I always tell, and there was this one coach that was a high D too, and I was like, I really loved him, really respected him. He was really cool. I was like, we're like David. David. No.
He's high D.
Is he? Oh, well, he is too.
Yeah.
Yeah, for people who don't know this system, the D is more of a dominant personality, kind of a. I'll give you the 2-second overview of it's my way or the highway. They like things in my husband's a D, and he would always tell me whatever I'm going to tell him, 5 words or less, because I would go on and on about the story, and he's like, get to the point. So the I is the influencer, inspiring kind of person, likes to talk. The S is the steady one. So the S, you won't get, like if this S is your employee, you won't get great things like miraculous, fabulous, peaks, but you won't get the valleys either. You will get consistent stuff. So, and then the C is for like correctness and attention to detail, and it bothers you if it bothers the C if their name is mispronounced. Like it used to bother me. My first name is spelled with a K, not a C. It used to bother me when people said it with a C, but as I have grown in my capacity to understand Jesus and his acceptance for me, I accept that other people are just spelling my name, and I'm glad to know them.
Right. And I feel like the DISC is more about identifying like where we are currently so that we can grow and become more balanced rather than like labeling us or trying to define us by our limitations. Does that make sense? Because like as a free spirit, I struggle with is like Maxwell just said jokingly. It's like Will's over there, like, what is really going on? Like, what's going on? Right? And I get that. It's funny, and I can laugh at that. But like right under I, I'm a D. So those two conflict. There's a bit of confliction there. So I have to know what's going on. I have to show up and to be influencing as well, to be like in my niche.
Well, I'll challenge you, Will. So one of the things that the DISC perspective is there for is to understand how we operate. Think of it this way. Men are from Mars, women are from Venus. Spaghetti Waffles is another book called Spaghettis and Waffles. The five love languages.
Love Busters.
These are just books that help you understand characteristics, not to label you, not to change you, but help you identify how you operate. For instance, people have different ways of doing things. So the DISC assessment just kind of gives you your language so that you know how you operate, so that you know, like, if I'm going to talk with you about details, but you're not a D, you don't care about the details, But if you're a high D and I just start going in, it could be something like this, and it might happen, and you want the details. You don't care about all the fluff, right? So knowing that characteristic about you helps understand how to talk to you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not necessarily labeling you, but it's helping define your characteristics.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm actually with David on this one. It's a lot about communication, a lot about because when I learned how I communicate, and then I learned that someone else wants it in 5 words or less, I learned to be intentional about summarizing what I was trying to say, or maybe starting with the bottom line as opposed to starting with telling a story. The 5 love languages is very similar. It's about communicating with your partner and speaking their language, because sometimes how we feel love, how we give love, how we receive love, it can be a foreign language. In fact, my husband's love language is my lowest scoring love language.
Yeah. And it kind of reminds me of a story. I'm going to leave the names out for protection of identity. No, I'm just kidding. But there's this guy.
Where's this going?
And this person called this guy and said, we need to pray for so-and-so. And so he goes to his wife, we need to pray for so-and-so. Well, great. What happened? I don't know. We need to pray for so-and-so. Well, are they at the hospital? Are they, what's going on? I don't know. We need to pray for so-and-so. Some people, they just, whatever they get, they run with it. And some people, before they can do anything, they have to have everything laid out in front of them.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, that's true. We're all very different, and we all need each other. Mm-hmm. That's the thing. We need each other. But what is the saying, David? Help me out. If we want to go far, we go together. We want to go.
If you want to go fast, go alone.
We go alone. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And there's no author on that. It's an old African proverb.
Yeah, thank you, Erika. That's exactly right. Yeah, exactly right. Yeah. So I want to go far. I know that you guys do too. So we're doing it together.
God didn't put us here to be alone. He put Eve in the garden with Adam because he said to himself, it's not good for this man to be here alone.
Well, the funny thing, I'm glad you brought that up, because we were created to be loved and to love. It's a two-way street. And we rise up together. It's very true. But, that's the biggest key right there, is we were originally created way back before anything happened to love.
Yeah. One thing that blows my mind is like before Adam was created, before the animals were created, right? God, Jesus, and the Holy Ghost there, and the beautiful triune, right, relationship that they had, loving one another, It's what they had, and it's what we get to have with each other and with them. It's amazing. It's amazing, that love.
That's right.
It transcends all pain and all hardship. Yeah.
So,
if we let it.
Erika, you made a mention that kind of perked my ears near the beginning. You said you meet with your coaches. How many coaches do you meet with?
3.
3. And that's very impressive. And they're all individual coaches you meet for different reasons, right?
It's actually a team that meets together.
Okay.
And all 3 of them are very different from each other, which is what makes them a very powerful team.
So now,
there's the fellow that I do the mastermind with. He and I are very, very much opposite.
So do you pay one and it gets all 3 of them, or do you pay each 3 individually?
So this particular program, I pay 1 and I get all of them, but it's not cheap.
Right.
But I will say that it was a stretch on my budget at first, but it's always been in my budget. God has always blessed me enough to be able to afford their services. And then, you're like, oh, I don't know if I can spend that much. But the growth that I've seen, I went from paycheck to full-time coach in 9 months. That is worth way more than what I paid them.
Yeah.
So I continue to pay them because I continue to see that wild amount of success and that wild amount of growth. And even if the success isn't readily visible that month, it will be down the road. As long as I keep growing, that's what's important, because I tell my clients all the time, if I'm not growing, they're not growing.
Yeah, and I loved how you said that, because the reason my attention got perked is I always have a coach as well. Currently, I have 2 coaches. A while ago, I had 3, and then I got rid of one of my coaches, so I still have 2 more. But I've always had multiple coaches because I get this coach for this purpose and this coach for this purpose. And then I got this coach for this purpose, didn't like him, so I got rid of him, and I still got the 2. But we're trying to redesign and get the things that work for us. And, we may say, oh, this looks good here. And then, you really got to give it some time to know if it's going to bear the fruits. But yeah, you definitely, I'm a big believer, you got to have multiple. Every successful person has multiple coaches. They'll have a business coach. They'll have if it's a sport, they'll have a sports coach, a fitness coach. They have different coaches to handle every area of their life. All successful people have tons of advisors that make sure they can handle things.
Yeah.
So that is definitely key.
I believe it's Proverbs. It says there is wisdom in an abundance of counselors. There's wisdom in coaches, right? Yeah, I love it.
Absolutely. And David, you mentioned fruit, and it's something that God has been talking to me about here recently. I'm currently working on a certification for biblical counseling. I have taken all the training for lay counseling without the certification, but I find myself pulling on those tools more and more with my clients and with my groups. So I needed more. And so I'm going for the certification. And the thing that has been so prevalent over the last couple of months of training has been the fact that from Matthew 7, no tree that's bad can bear good fruit. And so we can move things around. And I'm thinking back to moving things from drawer to drawer to drawer in the dresser until you eventually have to deal with it, right? But moving around the fruit and painting it a different color or coloring it with crayons instead of markers is not going to make a change. What really does the change is when the tree changes. So we have to change the tree, which is us. We have to grow and change. And so sometimes we go and we do the consistent things, which kind of is fruit, but those consistent things are what allow God to do the changing in us. For instance, someone who wants to consistently read their Bible, they get on a plan, they get on one of those read the Bible in a year kind of plans. I've tried that 7 times, and 7 times I've failed. But if I can just read something in my Bible, even if it's not a full chapter of something or a full script, or sometimes I will just do the thing where I just, drop the Bible open and whatever's there, I'll see what God has to say to me to that day. Sometimes it's a set of devotions that I'll go through. But I need that fresh slice of Jesus every day, just like I need a piece of bread to survive every day.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't do a reading. I can do a devotion as long as it's a short one, 30 days, 90 days, whatever, but I can't do the year. I cannot read the Bible, but I can study the Bible. And so, like, if I have a topic that I'm studying, I can take years stripping that apart, studying every angle, but I can't read the Bible in a year. So I'm with you when you say that.
That makes me feel like not a bad person now because I can't do it either. I am so glad I'm not alone in that. I see you guys reading. Is there another question in my future?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and read it. What do you think happened in regards to horrible things happening because love/God transcends all rights, but why do people operate in such hate sometimes? I think it's a great question, and I think we can look at God on a tree dying for our sins, and we can say God doesn't just transcend what's right, but also what's very painful and what's black, what's sin, right? Dying for us, for our sins. So I love the question, and I hope that sheds some light. David, what do you have?
Well, it kind of reminds me, back in the Old Testament, people couldn't comprehend a devil. So God said, I allowed my fiery angel. Later on, we can understand the devil, and he said, well, that's the devil doing that. I don't cause harm on you, but I will use the harm to bless you. So when the devil does bad things to you, God can still turn that around. So it depends, I'm going to say it depends on the perspective and depends on the light that you are currently, because God will always work with you in the place that you are at. Amen. He's not going to work with me where Will is at, and he's not going to work with Erika where I'm at. He's going to work with each person where they're at. So whether he says a fiery angel or whether he says something else. But before we go on to this next question, let's hear Erika's response.
So I'm thinking about a New Testament story. Jesus called his disciples to go out into a boat to cross a lake, and it was more like a 5-mile lake, and it was in there were all these storms on the sea, and Jesus had gone to sleep on the boat. And all the disciples were like, this storm is getting bad, and this little tiny boat is, not going to do it for us. And they finally said, well, maybe we should go ahead and wake him up. And so they wake Jesus up, and they say, well, why have you abandoned us? And he says, I haven't abandoned you. And he speaks, and the storm calms itself. So sometimes God puts us in situations where we know we're going to need him. Without all these things that God allows to happen, like storms in our lives, how would we ever know that we needed Christ? Because if everything was hunky-dory happy all the time, we would just think he's another story in a history book. We would not feel in or be in the places where we understood, you know what, Jesus, you are all I have left. I don't have anything else. I've been in that place. I have been in that place where horizontally I had nowhere to turn. And God allowed me to get to this rock bottom spot where there was no place for me to look but up.
Right.
And that's where the storms come from. God never promised us life would be happy. And in fact, he promised us that following him, Jesus said, following me is not going to be the easy path. You're going to get persecuted. You're going to get things thrown at you. You're going to get ridiculed.
Good.
Joe, who posted that?
Michael.
Okay, so one thing I'm going to mention, Maxwell posted another good question. Unfortunately, this isn't the place for that. This podcast, we do hit and miss, but for a deep dive in that, we actually do that we have a Bible study, both on Tuesdays and on Fridays. Fridays is a men's only, Tuesday is a unisex. It's anybody can go. We'll dive more on that in that. This is more about personal development. We do touch on God, but we don't focus on God, if that makes sense. So good question, and we will we'll reach out to you and get you the link for that.
Yeah.
So we will not let you go without an answer,
right,
but we'll do that another time.
Yeah.
With that being said, I'd like to make 3 announcements. And so we'd like to give something away for free, or give a free announcement, an advertising announcement, and another free announcement. And then we're going to start final comments, and then we're going to give out some awards. So first of all, being that he just mentioned about the Bible study, we have a free Bible study every Tuesday and every Friday, both at 6 o'clock Central Time. And we would love for you to join both of them and be able to enjoy the benefits of them.
Yeah, a little bit about the one on Friday. Only men, right? And we love the women in our lives so much that we recognize that we fight a battle that looks totally different than the ladies in our lives. They can't comprehend what our battle looks like. Maybe they can start to comprehend, okay, but they don't know. They don't live it. So it's important for us to create a space for us brothers to come together and say, okay, bro, I've got you. Here's these data boys, the encouragement, the accountability. It's all here. We meet over Zoom. We want you to be there. You're invited. Reach out. We'll get you connected. And on Tuesday, you don't want to miss that one either. Unisex, Erika, you can come. We'd love for you to come. All the ladies, come on, and we'd love for you to come on in there too.
Yeah, so the Tuesday one, 20 minutes is going to be studying of the Word. Then it's 40 minutes on the topic that it was, how it relates to you and things like that. So it's very powerful. Now, we also have an all-in-one program. We've been making a lot of changes. Even the way this podcast is being ran today is different.
Yeah.
This is our first day doing it this way because we have an all-in-one program that just simplifies everything. And so we've been hearing more and more, getting more out of this all-in-one. So that's one of the reasons why we're switching this, and a lot of the rooms that we're doing, a lot of the questions, a lot of different things we're doing is all based on this all-in-one program that we're using. And it just simplifies everything a lot cheaper. So there's going to be notes in the comments below that it's going to get you connected to this all-in-one program. We highly recommend it. And then last but not least,
here we go.
We want to stress out for all the coaches out there, we have a community just for coaches.
Just for you.
To bring them together, connect them. And this is for all kinds of coaches.
Yeah.
Ramsey, ICF, Tony Robbins.
Yeah.
All kinds of coaches. As long as you are a real coach, not just a name it, claim it.
Got to have some credentials.
Yeah, as long as you are a coach, you are welcome because we can all help each other out.
That's right.
We are a team. Together, we achieve more.
Ooh, that's good.
So that's going to be the 3 announcements for you guys. Now, Erika, did you have any final words?
I do, actually. I have a challenge for anybody who's watching. So here's my challenge. Pick one small habit that you can do every day that will create some long-term success. And I want you to commit to doing that habit for 30 days straight. I want you, for this 30 days, I want you to say no to things that don't align with your goals. And I also want you to write this down. Just write it down and post it wherever. You can write it in, if you're a lady, you can write it in lipstick on your bathroom mirror so that you see it, that this is my consistent thing that I'm going to do every 30 days. You can do whatever you need to track it, but do that thing for 30 days. And if you don't know what that thing is, ask yourself, what can I put in place right now, today, that's going to make life easier for my future self?
That's good.
That's just a shameless plug for, if you want to learn more about building habits or focus on some of those goals. I have this. It's a group on School, that new platform, so it's private. You don't get the ads that you get from Facebook and things, and that place where we focus on a different set of goals. And I go in there daily and post. And one of the consistent things is that School does not allow you to pre-post. They don't allow you to schedule ahead like Facebook or some of the other platforms do. So it's really me going in there every day and posting daily prompts, getting people to change their minds and see things from a different perspective for 30 days. And Dave and Will are kind enough to put that link into the show notes for you guys.
Yep, absolutely.
Yep.
And thank you so much for being here and having me. This is amazing.
Yeah, and we look forward to having you again because you were awesome.
Absolutely.
And now's the fun time. Are you guys ready?
We're ready. Come on, hit us with it.
So we're going to give away 3 prizes.
I thought it was 2.
There's always 3. 3 is completion.
Like 3 wishes.
Not wishes, but these where you're going to get.
But you can't wish for more wishes.
Now, first of all, the first prize we're going to give away is going to be Maxwell.
Okay.
He is getting the best comment question because I think all of the questions were coming from him. So he definitely gets that one.
Yep.
And then we're going to pick one winner of person in the room. How many people do we have in the room?
2 at the moment, and I can't see who the other person is because they haven't commented.
Okay.
Got an incognito viewer.
And if the other person, because I guess we have 2 people in the room currently, you got to be in the room to be win the prize. So if that person can comment their name, something,
yep.
That way we can get connected. Otherwise, they don't get a prize.
Maxwell gets all of it.
And now the prize that they're going to be giving, I told you you're going to get something for free. Are you ready for this?
I don't know if I'm ready for it.
So every single person that gets connected with Will or I or pretty much any real coach, we always give you your first session for free.
Or Erika.
Yeah, or Erika. First session's usually always for free. That's where we can take a deep dive, figure out exactly what you need. Well, today we're going to go out there and give you an additional session with Will or I completely free as well.
Like that.
So this is going to give you a second session for free, just for coming in here, commenting, things like that. Now, Erika, we're going to give you a prize as well. For being a guest on here, we have a special community that's just for coaches. We have a group coaching that stretches coaches and actually helps them out. It's cheaper than a one-on-one coach because it's group coaching, so it kind of brings the price down. We're going to give you 2 sessions included for free.
That's powerful. That's powerful. And how much is that value?
We charge $250 per session on that group coaching. So
$500 value.
You're getting $500 for coming out here today.
I'm honored.
So, and we'll reach out and get you connected into that.
Yep.
And we thank each and every person for coming here.
Yeah.
And the comments below, we will be updating them. So we're going to add Erika's site in. We're also going to add the book recommendation.
Yep.
And if she gives us the wording of her challenge, we're going to put that in the notes below as well. Thank you, everybody, for coming. We look forward to seeing you next week. Again, you have to be here in order to win.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well said, David. And don't forget to juice yourself up. Let's go, baby. Let's get it.